Hello ladies and gentlemen, Mark Sham here, founder and CEO of Suits and Sneakers, and today I'm back with another edition of the Small Business Showcase. But I have to tell you, this one comes with a twist. And I have no scam in telling you that today's guest is someone that I've just been so excited to have here for very biased and very personal reasons. So without further ado, I'd really like to welcome Brent Lindeque, aka GoodThingsGuy.
What's happening? It's crazy to be here because this journey that I've been on, we've kind of been on together, and I've known you forever.
Well, this is exactly why I asked you to come through. In your case, this is a little bit different because I've been trying to use the Small Business Showcase to really put a highlight on people who are doing amazing things, businesses who are really just doing cool things, and also maybe trying to help these businesses that need a bit of a spotlight because of COVID. And you're a little bit different because lots of people know about you, but what's unfair is that you've equally been hit by COVID, and I will kind of get into it a little bit, but I also have to tell you, the main reason I'm just so excited is because our journeys have aligned, and I just think so many people need to know more than ever who Brent Lindeque is, what his journey is, what his why is, and this incredible platform that you've built. So I'm really excited to have you. So I always like to start with this very simple question, which is, for the people who don't know you, I would love for you to introduce yourself, and I would also love to understand what is the value that you offer to the world.
Sure. Elevator pitch on a big idea. My name is Brent Lindeque. I grew up in the South with you. Average guy. This sounds exactly like the first talk I ever did, which was Suits and Sneakers.
Yes.
But it is who I am. So that's where I know you from, is from the South. And a couple of years ago, it was about 6 years ago, something crazy was happening in the world. I don't even know if you want to get into that, but it was neck nominations. People were drinking. I wasn't. I fed a homeless person. And all of a sudden, my life was thrust into this entirely different space where I was on radio and TV, and people wanted to hear my story, and people would around the world change their neck nominations to do good as well, and to do like random acts of kindness. And I realized that I really like radio as a medium. And what did I do? I stalked Gareth Cliff, as you do, and he gave me a show on Cliff Central. And from that, I realized that there was no way in South Africa to get good news. So I had this show on a podcast, and I had a good following, but there was nowhere where you could open up a newspaper or click on a screen and just really get good news from our country. So I started GoodThingsGuy, and that was 5 or 6 years ago. And at first it was just a blog. It was one story a day, which was really hard to find. And a couple of years later, it's become South Africa's top good news site. I've got writers who work for me. We publish up to 15 good news stories every day, even Saturdays and Sundays and Christmas. And it's a machine, and it's my baby, and I'm so proud of it. And I'm also so thankful because I feel like it's a gift that's been given to me from the universe.
Yeah, I think that's when you know you've hit the jackpot, that work is no longer work, when work is more fun than fun, almost, You know what I mean? But I want to dispute something that you said there, which is you calling yourself an ordinary guy, and the way I perceive you is that I disagree with that for this reason, is that, yes, we've seen in the internet world that anybody can go viral in a moment, but you've managed to replicate this over and over for all the right reasons. And why I don't think you're ordinary, and why I especially wanted to feature you here today, is because you have time and time again not only gone viral, but it's time and time again you've taken a situation and really worked it for the good. So your way of thinking was everybody was just getting in line with the neck nominations and they were downing their drink, and you said, this is fine, like this pay it forward mentality is great, but we're using it for a pretty weird reason. But okay, why don't we do something good with it? And then you went nuts. And then you built the little radio / podcasting thing, but you really did. I think when you say, I built a little following, I think that following was pretty large. And then this made huge sense to me because I've been speaking for the longest time about the bad news bias that we experience. If it bleeds, it leads. And whether they mean to or not, I'm beyond it, is that news is fundamentally built on your eyeballs will look for the bad. And it's playing to our weaknesses as human beings. So the fact that you come on board and you're like, guys, I just want to counter, I'm not saying there are only good things. I just simply want to counterbalance the negativity in society by creating this site, and then watching you take that from concept to what it is today. Because even that's a great idea, but I don't think ordinary people can take it to where you've taken it.
You're so kind.
And I mean that. And so why I wanted to have you here is two things. I do think, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I do think that you've been impacted by COVID like we all have. But also, one of the things you don't get a chance to do is that you're always in the public eye in terms of giving out the news, and people don't get to see the behind the scenes view of what makes you tick, the brand tick, and so forth. Did you get the snot clapped out of you by COVID, yay or nay? Or
yes. So if we take a step back, one of the things that enabled GoodThingsGuy to grow is that when I was younger, I started an agency with my fiance. And that's like 10 or 11 years ago. And that agency did brand activations, events, sports sponsorship, a whole bunch of great things. Like at one stage, we flew to Bangladesh and India to do cricket. Like it's just been a wild ride with Chaos Theory, which I've been very thankful for. And when GoodThingsGuy got bigger and the radio started taking off, it didn't pay. So for the first 2 years that GoodThingsGuy was a brand and it was being born and we were creating, it didn't pay me any money, but Chaos did. And Chaos let me literally not come into work in order to build this brand. And it paid for my first writer in order to build this brand.
Yes.
And when COVID hit globally, so we're talking, it hasn't even gotten to South Africa yet, we're not quite understanding what this is going to be. The events industry in South Africa, sort of the 1st of March, was already dead. It was done. And anything that was in the pipeline was shut down. Clients in South Africa literally went, we don't know what's going on. We don't know where this is going. So Chaos Theory as a business paused. The thing that has developed this brand and allowed it to grow and given me the life that I have is gone. That is no more. Until perhaps when the event industry opens again. But that affects our household because then you've got two people who, yes, GoodThingsGuy is now a business, but my fiance had to start to think about things differently. And yes, he moved into the digital world and he's done great things during this time, but we were heavily affected. The fear of the unknown is harrowing. To not know what the future is going to bring is incredibly scary. So that's the one side. We're talking about finances, we're talking about business, we're talking about mental wellness. GoodThingsGuy itself became this beacon of hope. So I had to put in double time. And all of a sudden, the work that I was doing felt like so much more. It felt like I was putting in far more hours than I should have. I was waking up at 4:30 in the morning to start to get stories out, and I was only logging off of my computer about 9 or 10 at night. While the rest of the world was sipping pina coladas, I was working double time. And that eventually took a mental toll, I think. Towards after the first month or so, I'd sort of reached my tether and I wasn't in the best of spaces. And I think if people follow me on social media, they would have seen the craziness. Yeah. In between that, my senior writer got appendicitis and she got shipped off to the hospital, and it took like 3 weeks of recovery for that as well. So I was really steering this boat by myself, and it was very taxing. And I somehow made it through, and it's 140 days later, odd, and we're still in it. I'm still writing every day. I'm still waking up, and I'm still doing what I had to do or have to do.
Besides what you do, I really do admire your consistency, because it leans back to how you introduced this, that Suits and Sneakers and GoodThingsGuy have virtually coincided, and we actually haven't even done as much stuff as we should at times because we've both been busy, together I mean. But you're right, like the very first Suits and Sneakers event I ever hosted, 2015, and the date was the 23rd of July. You were actually the first person I asked to speak point blank.
Yeah.
And that was great. And then
that was scary.
As
for me, I'd never climbed onto a stage before.
But it was so symbiotic for all of this to happen. It was actually the best thing. And then you started GoodThingsGuy. I really have admired the work that you've done. I've told you this in person, but I've also from afar. But again, that's why I say I think you're in a slightly unfair position in this. Just because you have huge brand exposure doesn't mean you get affected. And so we tend to go, well, let's help the small guys, so to speak, but let's not do this with someone like GoodThingsGuy. But because I know this personally, I know the details personally, I really wanted to have you here. And I have to just say, And I mean this with every part of me, that I think that the value that you've added and the voice that you've offered to so many people has had such a massive contribution to society. And it's hard to judge that sometimes because we can't go back and take it away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Imagine we could live dual worlds and see what it would like to be without it. Then I think we would really see. So I'm a massive fan of Good Things Guy. And it has helped, can I be honest with you, in times where I am feeling super negative, you really do offer the alternative perspective where you're in my feed equally. And then I'm like, you know what? It isn't all bad. And so that's kind of why I wanted to have you here. For all of these reasons and more, I would love to kind of hear your where to from here with Good Things Guy. And I would also love to hear like some of the lessons that you've learned in this process that might help people on the other side watching this.
So before we get to where to from now, we'll start off with lessons, right?
Yes.
I dropped out of varsity twice. So I've got a very unfinished degree. I started work because I grew up with not a lot of money. So for me, that was a driving factor, a force, is to make as much money as you can, get into a job that you can, like start to live if you can. And what I was doing then is nothing to what I'm doing now. So this is where I'm going with this. I've never studied journalism, ever. I studied marketing. I didn't finish that degree. But I've never put effort, time, or energy into studying journalism. In 6 years, I've got one of the top good news sites in the country. My writing is better than some of the mainstream media sites. My editing is insane because it's practice, right? So what can I say I've learned through this journey is that if you have a dream or you have a plan, I never planned this, but if you have a dream and you can put action towards that final goal, you can make whatever come true. If you work hard at it every single day, you can turn something that is an idea into a reality. The first time I did Suits and Sneakers, I was up on stage and it was the scariest time ever. It was the first talk I ever did. Since then, I've done plenty of talks and it's become part of this world that I've built. And one of the things that I've spoken about often is how there are 7 billion people in the world. And at any given point in time, there's at least 100,000 people that are having exactly the same thoughts as you. 10,000 of them might talk about it. 1,000 of those exact same people and the thoughts might put it down onto paper. But generally, there's only like 5 people that actually do. So that's a lesson for me, is if you want something, if you think about it, if there's an inkling of an idea, do it. It could change your life completely. And yes, I fed a homeless person and it's brought me to this place here. But in between that, there was a whole lot of action that I put towards
I think that's been your superpower. And that's why I don't think you're ordinary.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's why you keep replicating it time and time again. If you were just a one-hitter wonder, then after Neck versus Rack nomination, you would have been like, these things do live and die quite quickly.
Yeah.
You'd fade into oblivion. And yet here we are 6 years later, you've gone from strength to strength to strength. And so for me, the practice that you've done, the experimentation that you've done, you followed an excitement of yours, and then you did something about it.
Did something. And in that time, my goal 6 years ago was to change the narrative of the country so that we can all think about it differently and offer some balance to South Africans. So they got this balanced view of the world. Because if we're all just looking at this, what is going on in the current situation or in mainstream media, you wouldn't want to be anywhere. Like you'd rather be like, I think her name's Andrea, and go to Mars. Like that would be your plan. You wouldn't want to be here. But an interesting thing that has happened in this time as well is that mainstream media now use me as a source for good news. Yeah. So on a lot of the digital platforms or even newspapers, at one point I was writing for The Star. Let's just go back. I have no journalism experience whatsoever. I was writing for The Star. And the reason why is because they wanted the good news. So that it has changed the narrative, which I'm very proud of. Where to from here? Good Things Guy, like I said, it's an incredible gift. And it does wonders to people that can afford it. And you're not paying for it, but you are. You have data, you have access to some sort of smartphone. You have something where you can find that news, that it can get to you without it being a hamper in your lifestyle, whether it's your phone or your computer or your tablet. And my goal is to speak to the people who are most hopeless in this country, the people that don't have money, the people that are not able to access what the middle class or the upper class can. That was my goal for this year. Somehow, in between COVID, that happened. There was a gentleman who created a website that was 100% data free. His name's Gore. And I'll need to get the name of the actual website or what the link is. But if you access some of the information for coronavirus, it goes through his portal, so it becomes 100% data free on your phone, which means you can be sitting in the middle of nowhere with no money on your phone, and you're able to see the coronavirus stats, you're able to get the information, you can access the government things. It was a really interesting piece of content that came across my desk. And we wrote about it, and we put it up on our platform. And the article did so well and drove so many users to his site that he decided to incorporate GoodThingsGuy as part of that.
Wow.
And we now have over 35,000 new readers every day that read our news for free, that are in the informal settlements.
Yes, man.
That are, you know, that's where I wanted to go this year. That's what I wanted to do. On top of that, we had an incredible billboard company, digital billboard company, that has put our news on there. They've chosen to put GoodThingsGuy on there instead of the mainstream media news. And those billboards are in the government hospitals. They're in the mining canteens. They're in the pubs in Soweto, which are not open right now, but they will be soon. And those digital screens are everywhere. And it's reaching people who would not usually have access to the news. So my goal for this year is ticked, and I'm not quite sure what is coming next year, but I know it's going to be really good.
So normally I try to keep these at 15 minutes, but I'm going to give you 2 extra minutes because you're a special human being. 2 things back to back, and you're welcome to use the close-up camera. What is your message, if the whole of South Africa was watching right now, what would be the one message you would want to give them just in this moment? And then please give everybody your details in case for the 13 people who live under a rock. But, so let me rephrase that. Your call to action is what I'm getting. You can finish off with a call to action because I think this is your platform.
Hey, look at that camera. I want South Africans not to lose hope. I feel like that's the hardest and most cliche thing to say. It can feel really traumatic right now. We're all dealing with something which is unprecedented. It's disgusting. Loss of normality, loss of friends, loss of jobs, loss of loved ones, loss of money. But you cannot lose hope. You might not be okay today. It's okay not to be okay. But tomorrow or the next day or the day after that, you can try again. So don't lose hope. Somewhere down the line, it will be okay. And if you want to follow anything that I do, you can just look for GoodThingsGuy or Brent Lindeque.
You are definitely the good things guy, and one of my favorite things about you is that whenever I do spend time with you, I feel better, and I think that that's a mark of someone who you want in your life, is that you immediately are the better for having had an experience with them. So I really want to say thank you for coming here. My call to action is quite simply that the whole point of this platform and what we're trying to do is to shine the spotlight on people and businesses that are doing amazing things and just need a little bit of love. And I think today was more about showcasing the behind the scenes views for Brent and GoodThingsGuy, that as much as he puts out for the world, doesn't get to do this. And so my hope to you is please use this platform to equally share. Like the one power that we all have right now that costs virtually nothing is our social media channels. So the way we can give back, the way we can spread happiness and love and all good things is literally just by pressing the share button on this video, with the aim knowing this is not a money thing, this is just about sharing the love and paying it forward. So that's my call to action. Brenty, thank you so much for coming into studio. We are going to have so many more of these now that we've set up this. But really, thank you for being here, and thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. And this is not a pat on the back ego fest. We are friends. We've been friends forever. I honor the work that you do and the fact that you're willing to take your platform and use it for other people to get the exposure and to talk about things. I think it's very important. Communication is the way that we can all realize we're all in kind of the same boat. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Brenty.
Bye.